What is up, peoples? And I don't mean the jewelers. I'm RonMan, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Twisted Tales of Spike McFang for the Super Nintendo. The Twisted Tales of Spike McFang is an action RPG developed by Bulletproof Software and published by Nexus Soft for the Super Nintendo in 1994. In this game, the story is bare bones, like a step above Final Fantasy Mystic Quest. Spike McFang, a vampire, is trying to save the kingdom of Vampra from the evil Von Hessler. Throughout the game, you'll have two companions, Rudy and Camellia, who occasionally replace each other, and the Professor, who acts more like a mentor. So that's it for characters. Like, that's it. There is not much going on here. There are generic townspeople who offer generic dialogue, and none of it is necessary. Yeah, so this leads me to the writing of this game. How do I put it? Well, we'll let the game speak for itself. It's very elementary. And you see this type of elementary writing throughout the game. Like, there's a part where you're in a snowy mountain, and you hear that the boss is weak to chicken noodle soup. Well, of course, the chicken noodle soup is given to you by someone in the mountain, and when you kill the boss, he's surprised as to how you figured it out. It's just cheap. It's really thin, and it's not multi-layered. It's just one. This whole game is just one layer. So, the story and writing are somewhat lacking, but there are some funny moments, like the time that Spike forgets to bring Rudy along for the ride. He just leaves him behind, even though earlier Rudy saved Spike. So Spike does that thing that all human beings do, and that's just to blame the other person, without any thought, even though it's Spike's fault. Rudy didn't do anything wrong, and Rudy saved his life earlier in the game. But this game acknowledges that, and that is kind of funny. I mean, not like that funny. Like, I wasn't like really laughing, I was just kind of like, that's a thing. Anyway, the graphics are not bad, but the music here is awesome. A lot of these tracks are good enough to get stuck on my head from time to time. So how does this game function as an action RPG? To attack, you press Y to do a cape spin. Press Y too rapidly and you'll get dizzy. If you press and hold Y, you'll be able to toss Spike's hat, although I think I only used this once in the whole game, and it was for this spider. B is to jump, and A is to use the card that you have selected. So yeah, instead of traditional magic, this game uses cards, and they're consumable. The idea is that you're doing card tricks. Enemies offer experience and you level up, and this is the only way to increase your stats. You don't purchase any equipment, no weapons, no armor. The closest thing to equipment you can buy are different hats. The difference between the hats is in their behavior, not their damage output. You start off with a hat that just flies in a straight line. I won't spoil the other hats, just know that they behave differently. So unfortunately the hats are not very important. Enemies drop money and tomatoes. There are 3 different sizes of coin you'll see. The coin's worth 1, 10, and 50. There are 2 sizes for the tomato, and these replenish health. Throughout the game you'll visit different towns, and this is where you can buy hats and cards. This guy here sells cards. They're 20 gold a piece, and it's random as to which card you get. I kinda don't dig that. It's kind of annoying if you're looking for a specific card and you keep getting something different. Although the bigger problem is that the cards you get from this guy are trivial. They might be fun to use and make the game a little easier, but they're not necessary at all. The first time I beat this game, I never once bought a card from him. So if it bothers you that he gives you random cards, you could just skip him altogether. The most important cards are the tomato juice cards, which can replenish health, and luckily you can just buy them from this guy. Earlier I had mentioned that you can team up with companions, Rudy and Camellia. On paper this looks like a good thing. In reality, they're kind of useless. They often don't attack the enemies and will stand behind you as you fight. There's actually a card that makes them fight, so it makes them useful for a limited time. Otherwise they just stand around scratching their ass, and if an enemy ends up right beside them, then maybe they'll attack. Okay, so the big problem here with Spike McFang is that this game is just too small. You can beat this in like 2 to 3 hours. Like a 10-hour RPG I consider to be too small. So this game is very small, and it's also very simple, and I don't just mean the story. When you're exploring a castle or the mountains, there's nothing to find. No treasure chests, no other items to find, no other characters. There's not really much going on. There are many areas which lead to nowhere. It makes me wonder why they built these extra areas. To spice up the environments? Well, that's nice, but couldn't they have made exploring worthwhile? You end up walking around and saying, oh, there's nothing here. So you just grind until you're strong enough to kill the boss. Then you're off to the next town where you'll end up doing the same thing. By the way, most, if not all the bosses do this thing where right before you kill them, they recharge all their health. Not a big deal, but it gets old real quick. I know I just shit all over this game, but I admit it is fun to kill enemies and grind, and thankfully the music helps this be less of a chore. But do make sure to grind in every section because you'll get killed fast by the bosses. At the beginning of the game in the first castle, grind up to level 6 and you can take out the boss, Felina, no problem. So the controls work pretty well here, and hey, maybe a 2 to 3 hour RPG is all you're looking for, and if that's the case, this game's for you. This game isn't bad, just short and simple. There's charm with the music and the humor, and this game isn't very hard either. I give The Twisted Tales of Spike McFang a 6 out of 10. Thanks so much for watching. I want you to tell me about other super short video games. Is there another RPG shorter than Spike McFang? Leave it in the comments below. Please subscribe and we'll see you in the next video.